The foundation is data, right? For any kind of an agentic AI or an AI solution to succeed, we have to have a robust data infrastructure and data available and ability to integrate data from multiple sources, multiple systems, right? So that a data infrastructure is extremely critical.
Today, on AI Connect, we are going to explore agentic analytics, where AI doesn't just simply crunch your numbers, but autonomously explore data, recognizes patterns, builds models, financial models, predictive models, and makes business decisions without any human inputs.
For example, we will do customer segmentation.
Right.
We would optimize maybe the subject line based on the cohort of the customer, and then do some experimentation and then launch the campaign.
What challenges do you see implementing an agentic analytics model, and how do you see this model can actually scale?
It is always with the collaboration of SMEs and domain or the business teams, and then data scientists can get more involved in fine-tuning some of the models that the agentic solutions will use, right?
Welcome to AI Connect, where we talk about AI, data, and analytics that are shaping up modern businesses and lives. The AI agent market is exploding. From mere $5.4 billion in 2024, it is expected to reach 50 billion by 2030. And companies like Google, Microsoft, and Salesforce, they are rushing towards deploying AI agents that can think, decide, and act independently. But here is most people are not talking about. Most people are talking about primarily use cases like customer support or coding. But in the background, very interestingly, there is a revolution growing within the analytics space. We want to call that as agentic analytics. Today, on AI Connect, we are going to explore agentic analytics, where AI doesn't just simply crunch your numbers, but autonomously explore data, recognizes patterns, builds models, financial models, predictive models, and makes business decisions without any human inputs. This is not just any other trend for data and analytics professionals. This is not about just being a passive observer of dashboards, but managing a whole lot of AI agents, from simply doing day to day tasks to complex data analytics processes. We'll explore how this changes everything from marketing to financial forecasting, and why future belongs to those who can orchestrate these intelligent agents for their business growth and benefits. With that, let's begin. I have Shiva with me to talk about agentic analytics today. Welcome, Shiva.
Hey, Jaydeep, thanks. Nice to be here again.
As we were talking just before our recording started, that everybody is talking about AI agents.
Right.
And obviously, this is a space which is rapidly growing as the market opportunity suggests. And every big company and small company want to take a bite into this pie.
Yeah.
Today, we want to talk about agentic analytics, which is a variation of AI agents. And I want to know, what is agentic analytics and how does it differ from traditional analytics?
Yeah. One of the things that we have been doing in pockets, and we've been seeing some of the trends, is around how can we leverage AI to make analytics better. Analytics is a significant part of our business. We help business teams to drive outcomes, measurable business outcomes, improvements in their KRAs through this entire process of analytics. And that's one area where AI is poised to make a lot of changes to the way that we work. And what we are seeing, or where is the benefit or the usage of AI, is right now we are going through multiple loops. from an analytics standpoint. We look at what is the business outcome, what are the measurement criteria, and then analyze the numbers, maybe build dashboards. And then usually what happens is the business user or the department which is responsible for that KPI looks at that data or looks at the insights and then makes the decision. With the advent of agentic AI, what we are seeing is deployment of agentic AI based solutions which can autonomously crunch the numbers, explore, do some exploratory data analysis, and then also take decisions in terms of be it a pricing decision or a promo decision and those kind of things, right? The entire orchestration of this can be done through large language models and then various agentic AI protocols which are coming into place. But then, obviously, there are certain prerequisites and the way data has to be present in the systems, all of those there. But then we are seeing a lot of the early trends around some of these agentic systems being deployed in the analytics world.
Okay, let's step back. I wanted to understand, as it is today, the where analytics or data and analytics has reached is quite an advanced stage, which
Right.
is, like you mentioned, contributing significantly to measurable business impact.
Correct.
And multiplying growth, right?
Yeah.
Is agent or AI agents are thought because they are hot in the market today, or is that a natural sort of fit in? I just wanted to understand what is your take on this.
Yeah.
In the analytics space, do you really see that this is something that is required today for maybe force multiply the benefit that organization can reap by deploying these agents?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a, I would say, an evolution for a lot of the clients that we are working with. Data, the explosion of data is one aspect of it, right? Which requires large scale number crunching on a real time basis often, and then taking decisions, very quick decisions on the basis of that. Maybe I can talk about a little bit about some of the use cases, right?
Sure.
For example, if you take the area of marketing, right? We want to optimize our campaign spends. And then we also want to make sure that there are very specific targeted campaigns which are directed at specific set of customers so that the, let's say, a campaign open rate is high or the campaign activation rate is high, right? Those are kind of things that we do in the analytics world. We do, for example, we will do customer segmentation.
Correct.
We would optimize the maybe the subject line.
Correct.
Based on the cohort of the customer and then do some experimentation and then launch the campaign. Correct. Similarly, on the sales side, we want to optimize the promo spend. We want to take optimal pricing decisions, right, to, let's say, improve our net revenue. And on the finance side, we want to measure parameters around various aspects of business performance, be it your sales performance, be it your shipping performance, or be it any kind of business metric that you want to manage, and then we want to optimize that, right? So on and so forth. Right now, a lot of this analytics is part human and part automated. Now, obviously, the analysts and the business teams look at data, which are, and then some of the regular reports and regular metrics are automated, but then a lot of it is ad hoc analysis because it requires a lot of interpretation. Now, what we are seeing with the advent of agents is even some of the ad hoc analysis can be automated. We have the ability to bring in models. For example, you can have various customer segmentation models in the background, which an agentic solution can invoke and then can optimize and then maybe launch a campaign, right?
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
launch a campaign automatically. The agents can talk to the CRM systems to launch an automated campaign.
Yeah.
Similarly, on the pricing side, right, we can look at the price elasticity of various categories of products. We can, the models are already there. Then the agentic AI systems can orchestrate the entire aspect of it.
Competitors' price, do real time.
Exactly, do real time.
Add some promotions,
Promotions.
and maybe attribute to the dynamic pricing system that is already in place.
Dynamic pricing to an extent is already in place, but then that can be augmented through even more dynamics, bringing in even more variables of data, and then optimizing that.
They become a lot more contextual. On the marketing side, of course, I think the big benefit by deploying agent is, earlier what we would do is we will do, say, batch blast emails.
Correct.
And it'll go to maybe hundreds of thousands of people, and we will come back next day to check what is the performance,
Correct.
and look at, depending on those various email matrices, maybe we will adjust some of it manually.
Yeah.
Now, what probably will happen, with more of agent deployment in the analytics spaces, it will be able to do improve real-time engagements based on the actual response of the campaign.
Yes.
It will be able to tweak a title, it will be able to add an offer,
Correct.
it will be able to push through another, like you said, for example, the budget optimization, right?
Correct.
Cost optimization. So it may be able to move email to a probably a cheaper channel that already is available, with taking small segment of customers and doing an A/B testing and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, so that sounds fascinating, and like you gave a couple of use cases for sales and finance as well. What is the underlying technologies that is enabling this agentic analytics? Can you pay some?
Yeah, of course, the foundation is data, right? For any kind of an agentic AI or an AI solution to succeed, we have to have a robust data infrastructure and data available and ability to integrate data from multiple sources, multiple systems, right? So that data infrastructure is extremely critical. Then the second part of it is also the generative AI model, which will be able to orchestrate various pieces of it, and the entire model infrastructure, the ability to validate different model outputs. For example, the agent may try out with different customer segmentation models and then use the most optimal model which is relevant for that particular scenario as well as the data that is coming in, right? And also some of the recent advances in the AI world, this model context protocol, which enables interoperability between AI agents and tools or systems of record, like your ERP systems or Salesforce systems. All of that also helps in basically creating agents which can seamlessly talk to systems and then create and push some of the decisions, intelligent decisions to those systems.
Correct.
And in a larger context, we also, when you talk about complex multi-agent systems, we have the agent-to-agent protocol, right? So these are some of the core infrastructure components which are enabling this. But of course, the success of a lot of these initiatives often lies in the underlying foundation of data, right? The data has to be of good quality. It has to be explainable to somebody who's looking at it, because at the end of the day, these systems are probabilistic in nature. You obviously don't want to implement an AI system where, for let's say, a banking transaction, right, where you're debiting certain amount and then you don't want the system to credit an amount to your payee, which is more probabilistic in nature. You want a deterministic scenario there, right? So obviously things are evolving from that perspective. But yes, there are certain use cases, certain, especially around analytics, there is a lot of scope, is what we are seeing.
What challenges do you see implementing an agentic analytics model, and how do you see this model can actually scale?
Correct. Yeah. So one of the challenges or one of the core issues that needs to be resolved before a large scale implementation is done is, of course, data. The quality of data, be it's the availability of data from multiple sources, the quality, the precision, and the ability to pull in data from multiple source systems, right? Because AI models or machine learning models are only as good as the quality of data that is coming in. And then also, it's not just about the quality but also about the different sources of data, right? So you don't want data from only one systems. You want to obviously correlate to multiple parameters. You want data, for example, in the marketing scenario that we talked about, we want data from the core ERP systems, you want data from the CRM systems, you want data from the customer engagement platforms, right? So all of that has to come in place, and all of that has to correlate and be of good quality, right?
Yeah.
So that's the data foundation is one of the key components of that will make this kind of an initiative a success, and it's a challenge as well. And then the other challenge is around reliability and performance, right? So we have to continuously monitor performance. Inherently, a lot of these models are probabilistic in nature, right? The ability to provide reliable outputs consistently over a period of time is often a challenge. So that needs to be overcome. Then there are ways and means to that. Model explainability. So that's again something that is very important and relevant in the context of multiple agent systems. You don't want errors from one agent propagate to another and then compound over a period of time, compound over the entire process. And that is possible. And that's possible because we are still in early days of implementation of some of these, and it has to be addressed. And a lot of cases where we are seeing is the ability to address this is done through a human in the loop process.
Yeah. I was about to come to that because at the end of the day, these are autonomous agents, right?
Correct.
And how important it is to have human in the loop, considering without that, it is not. So one, obviously, you said is data, which is basically the core foundation.
Right.
The second is your systems. Third is your workflow.
Yeah.
So I think all of these are critical, and any break in that in the workflow chain or any kind of anomaly.
Yeah.
As it is, as you mentioned, most of these systems are AI systems are probabilistic.
Yes.
Can throw completely different results because it's a systems of systems. So
correct.
One agent is doing one act, maybe the second agent is taking that input
Right.
and making another decision from that.
Correct.
So how important is to have human in the loop?
Yeah,
at this stage.
Yeah, at this stage, it is extremely important. That's what we are seeing as well, human in the loop kind of control. And then we are also seeing implementation of very specialized agents so that we are talking about agents which operate within their distribution and what they've learned, right? And then passing on the control to another agent. And then, for example, there could be a small price calculation agent, and then there could be another agent which is actually trying to correlate that pricing with the revenue forecast and then address issues around whether the revenue will increase or decrease, right? So those kind of things. So smaller specialized agents, and the entire control or entire orchestration is done with human in the loop. For one is for basically making sure that the accuracy is maintained across this distribution of agents, and then explainability, because often business teams want to have control over the decisions and not go totally out of control, right? So that is extremely important. And then also what I would call as the multi-modality of multimodal sort of decisions. You are able to take some decisions not just based on the data that is available, but also based on the business scenarios and outcomes. All these are facilitated more effectively by having a human or the human expert overseeing some of the performance of these agents. So that's the way we are seeing, even when we talk about self-service analytics. We are seeing steps around how can an analyst benefit from those systems rather than directly the business users, because of the inherent complexity of data that is involved at this point in time. There is a lot of variability that can be introduced if the agents are not effectively deployed. Human in the loop analytics or hybrid agentic analytics is probably something that is going to catch on, and then maybe evolve into a more autonomous as we go along.
So how will the role of human analysts and data scientists will evolve,
Right.
or need to evolve with this agentic analytics in the context?
Yeah. So I see a lot of our analysts and a lot of the analytical world moving towards design, right? For example, let's say a design of experiments, right? You want to actually do a lot of A/B testing, and then that A/B testing process itself is made more efficient and effective through the use of agentic analytics. But then, who designs the experiment, right? So the business context, that organization context, right? So all of that has to be brought in. So the analyst probably takes a more effective role in doing some of those designs, right? And obviously overseeing and explaining some of the decisions that are made.
When you say design, can you explain what actually design here?
For example, if you want to, let's say, launch a new promo, launch a new campaign, right?
Sure.
The analyst needs to be involved more deeply into the design of the campaigns. For example, what kind of cohorts,
What are the
probable actions
Okay.
that can be done,
What are the
various scenarios, how the experimentations are designed. Do you go? What could be the size of the cohort, or what could be the target segment? So those are aspects that the analysts can get more deeply
Shouldn't
involved.
that happen with collaborations with say SMEs or
Yes, correct.
domain folks?
Yes, yes. It is always with the collaboration of SMEs and domain or the business teams, and then data scientists can get more involved in fine tuning some of the models that the agentic solutions will use, right? And building guardrails for governance of these agentic solutions, right? Because one thing that is very important is the guardrails should be built based on the, I would say, the impact of the decisions that an agentic solution can have on the entire organization or the business, right? It should not be based on the probability of something going wrong, because with these systems there is always a probability associated with it, even if that probability is low in somebody's assessment. But if the impact is very high, then the guardrails has to be built based on that impact rather than the probability. So those are actively, the data scientists will continuously have to work on some of those aspects. So I see there is a lot of human SME interaction, and people should be very comfortable working with agents, AI agents, and evaluating the output, right? All those aspects. And that's where the analyst and data scientists will start adding value in this scenario.
Okay. It is interesting because, again, going back to the nature of these agents which are autonomous, the challenge would be is considering the business environment, the external stimulations, variables, factors are constantly changing.
Yeah.
It's almost like always chasing and keeping up to that speed to at any point of time.
Yeah.
Keeping your variables, your probabilities, your possibilities all up to date in the context. And I think analysts will play a big role.
Yeah.
Probably design part is one, and second part probably will be also training part.
Training and evaluation. Training and evaluation is going to be constant.
Very constant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because things are changing all the time. Right?
Yes.
Unlike real world where we can see the changes.
Yeah.
When you are in systemic way, you probably won't be able to see. Of course, it will flag out anomalies, I'm sure, but that will also have to be defined that in such cases, how does it really act?
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times the volume and variety of data that is coming in, it's impossible for a human to keep up pace, right? That's where we need to deploy effective metrics to measure the performance of these systems on an ongoing basis and creating those evaluation guardrails.
What would be your suggestion? Where can people start? Obviously, you cannot start day one with a large, probably somewhere, some POC or a small set of testing data sets probably is better to start with.
Correct. Yeah. I would say in cases where we have seen very successful implementations, we've always started with a very narrow use case. And then the agentic AI is for analysts, is for a data scientist. So before we start taking business decisions autonomously, so we have always deployed it for the analysts, for the SMEs to look at, and then take those decisions, starting with a narrow data set and then increasing the scope as we go along, because data is extremely critical. And that's one of the major challenges that we are seeing, right? Because you need to bring in data from multiple sources, and it's not always easy for agentic solutions to understand the data the way a trained analyst would look at it. So we have to start with a small narrow use case, build special purpose agents, and then monitor the effectiveness, monitor the accuracy on an ongoing basis, and then move to scaling.
Would it be fair to say that start with also focusing on identify areas which are easily can be automated?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Low hanging fruits kind of thing, which are more standard in nature, less deviations.
Correct.
Those kind of
and then also look at the impact.
Also look at the impact.
Yeah. So if the impact is lower, then probably you can afford to experiment. The impact is high, then you want to have sufficient guardrails before you actually deploy an agentic solution.
Partly because obviously one of the major driver for implementing agentic analytics would also be consolidating your workforce and distribute that between human agents and
Correct.
AI agents and multiply that from an impact standpoint, right?
Yes, yes.
So less is more here.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. What is the future of agentic analytics? What do you think are the next course of developments where those are going to come from?
Yeah, I'm seeing there are a lot of the way the areas are evolving. So we will obviously continue to push the boundaries on accuracy, reliability of these systems, interoperability, right? And there is going to be a lot of focus on data, right? And then the analysts and data scientists will focus more on the design part of it, on the evaluation part of it, explainability part of it, right? And making sure these systems work effectively and also process or as we go along handle more and more complexity, right? So that's how I see it evolving. We are still in very early stages of this journey, as with many other AI systems, right? And we will need to keep on experimenting, keep on building on what we have already learned to move into a more autonomous world.
Okay. So before we wrap up, I just to make it a little more real, can you share like how questions can help in some of these to get started for maybe organizations that are looking to experiment at least at this stage with agentic analytics?
Yeah, yeah. So one of our strengths has always been that we work very closely with business teams on the analytics side to optimize business outcomes for the organization, right? So that's where our core expertise comes in. And then we also have a very strong practice in data and AI, having built some of the other agentic AI solutions, which are not necessarily maybe on the analytics space, but then on the other business process optimization and those kind of areas. Building a data foundation is extremely essential. Right now, we are working on with some of our clients on building that and then scaling that up to take advantage of some of these AI solutions. And then, as I said, identifying those candidates for experiments and doing some of those pilots and also establishing a success criteria for those pilots and then moving to scale, right? So that's where I think we can come in, leveraging our expertise in business analytics as well as creating those data foundations as well and AI systems, bringing it all together to help our clients to drive faster business outcomes from in this area.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we have covered quite a bit. Now, the facts are here. The facts are that the role of data analysts and the data scientists are evolving. And in the context of AI agents, analysts are going to play a larger role in terms of designing, in terms of orchestrating, in terms of taking bigger part in evaluation on some of those agentic models and the workflow and so on, in greater participation with the SMEs in the business. There's going to be a lot more collaboration, but the train has left the station, right? Definitely, the agentic analytics is a reality and it's going to grow bigger and better. And together at this stage, with human in the loop, we can expect larger business impact with agentic analytics deployment. We will continue to discuss the evolution of agentic analytics more deeply, probably looking into domains such as marketing, finance, tax. We already had covered tax analytics in the past episode. If you have not seen that episode, I would highly encourage you to go and take a look at that episode, and you will see that where tax and compliance analytics is going and how Prescience is solving different use cases within that particular domain. So, with that, we'll wrap up today's session. Shiva, thank you very much again for sharing your insights and wisdom here. And we will come back again with another episode soon. Till then, it's goodbye from us.
Yeah, thank you.